Right now, Donald Trump is spiraling as his narrative about the Iran war is completely falling apart, and world leaders aren't even pretending to go along with it anymore. Trump issued what he called a 48-hour ultimatum to Iran, essentially threatening massive strikes on civilian energy infrastructure if they didn't comply. And Iran responded with a direct warning of escalation across the entire region. Then, right before markets opened, Trump suddenly claimed out of nowhere that a deal to end the war was basically done. A deal in principle. No details, no confirmation, just a statement that immediately moved markets. And then he goes out and holds a press gaggle, and what he says next is unbelievable.
And then unfortunately I called Pete, I called General Kane, I called a lot of our great people. We have great people. And I said, let's talk. We got a problem in the Middle East. We have a country known as Iran that for 47 years has been just a purveyor of terror. And they're very close to having a nuclear weapon. We can keep going and get that 50,000 up to 55 and 60 is no end. Or we can take a stop and make a little journey into the Middle East and eliminate a big problem. And Pete, I think you were the first one to speak up. And you said, let's do it, because you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. So we are now having really good discussions. They started last night, a little bit, the night before that.
He says everything was going great until he decided to take what he calls a trip into the Middle East. A trip. That's how he describes a military escalation with global consequences. And notice something else, he's already shifting responsibility onto others around him. Then comes another claim, that negotiations are going extremely well, that Iran is ready to settle. There's just one problem. Iran keeps publicly saying the exact opposite.
Billions of dollars it costs to build them one missile, one of our powerful ones, and it comes down to the ground like it was made out of dust. But to determine whether a broader agreement can be reached, we've had very good discussions, very, very good discussions. And you have to understand, I know my whole life has been a negotiation, but with Iran, we've been negotiating for a long time. And this time, they mean business. And it's only because of the great job that our military did is the reason they mean business. They want to settle, and we're going to get it done, I hope.
So who are we supposed to believe? Because one side is consistent and the other keeps changing its story every few hours. And then the rhetoric takes a darker turn. Trump starts talking about the possibility of completely annihilating Iran.
This fight, they've really been a good partner in the fight. They fought hard. But we'll see what happens. I think there's a very good chance we're going to end up in a deal. And so we're giving it 5 days, and then we're going to see where that takes us. And I would say at the end of this period, I think it could very well end up being a very good deal for everybody. As good as if we went all the way and just literally annihilated the place, which if we don't have to do that, that would be a good thing, not a bad thing. In addition, after the appalling lines and massive disruption.
That's the kind of language that escalates conflict and plays directly into the hands of hardliners on the other side. Then he claims that Iran attacking regional targets somehow came as a surprise.
More important, and we did it quicker. Iran's missile capabilities were also growing so fast that it would soon have become virtually impossible to stop them. Once they have a missile, once they have what they were building was incredible. And you got a little glimpse of it by the fact that when they came out, they started shooting all of their neighbors. Their neighbors weren't fighting with them. They were getting along okay with their neighbors. And I was surprised. Everybody was surprised. And it actually worked in reverse because their neighbors then turned against them.
But again, that ignores the broader context of what's already been happening in the region. And just when you think it can't get more disconnected, he starts talking about the sound system.
Wow, that was a nice place with the best sound system. I don't know who did. Sounds like the finest opera hall in anywhere in the world. Let's come back here more often. So often you have sound systems that aren't the greatest. And there's nothing worse, making a speech when nobody can hear you. This is beautiful and it's a great place. And Memphis has to like me because I have a lot of friends here and they were not happy a year ago, 2 years ago, 4 years ago, and now.
While discussing war, he's reviewing the acoustics. That tells you everything about the focus here. Then we hear from Pete Hegseth, who's framing military presence in ways that raise serious concerns about how force is being discussed, not just abroad, but potentially at home.
Because every American, without exception, is entitled to safe, clean, and beautiful cities. Cities where you can walk in peace, cities where law enforcement can do their job. And to that end, the Department of War stands shoulder to shoulder with state and federal partners so that our streets can be defended once again. Kind of like the visual I'm looking at right here. I see a lot of civilian leaders and police, law enforcement leaders in the front. And who's behind you? Men and women in camouflage, having your back every single day like we do in this mission. So thank you for working tirelessly to protect this state and restore law and order. And the results, they speak for themselves.
And finally, Trump wraps it all up, talking about Elvis Presley and visiting Graceland.
And you know I'm going to see Graceland after this? I think, is that right? I love Elvis. I never met Elvis. Everyone said, did you? I met them all. I met Sinatra. I knew all of them. I never met Elvis. Sometimes I feel I should tell the little fibs that I knew him well. I love Elvis, but I never met him. But I'm going to go see Graceland after this, I think. I'm sure it's not going to be a very long stay.